Germicidal UVC is an effective tool for successful cannabis cultivation. The cannabis industry has grown dramatically in the last 10 years. Prior to its recreational legalization, marijuana was either grown illegally or imported from other countries. However, since Colorado and Washington legalized it in 2012, and many other states followed suit, the use of cannabis and its derivatives, such as hemp fiber and CBD oil, has skyrocketed. The U.S. market alone is fast approaching $40 billion. This increased need has resulted in an explosion of dispensaries across the country. And with the increase of retail outlets for hemp products comes a greater need for cannabis cultivation facilities to supply these stores. Seeing this increased demand and the economic opportunity, many have embarked on this business, which is at the forefront of technical horticulture, not realizing that a cannabis grower faces numerous challenges. Growing a healthy, abundant cannabis crop is not as simple as placing some seeds in fertile soil or hydrating a row of plants. Modern cannabis cultivation requires persistence, patience, and creativity, especially since medicinal uses require precise methods for safety reasons. Growers and breeders have their hands full producing a high yield of quality cannabis. For consistency and productive buds, growers must combine numerous species under very particular growing conditions. Whether growing in the controlled environment of an indoor facility or using a greenhouse, some of the factors they must consider are nutrition, water, lighting, temperature, and humidity. Cannabis growers are in a constant battle to maintain healthy plants and yield an abundant harvest. While a moist habitat is necessary for growing plants of any kind, high humidity is lethal to successful cultivation. An overly moist environment promotes the outbreak of any number of plant-killing diseases. Two of the more prevalent culprits are the microorganisms Botrytis cinerea and Podosphaera macularis. You may know them by their more common names, gray mold and powdery mildew. The very mention of these molds causes cannabis growers to shudder because they relentlessly attack their crop, cutting into their profits. Cannabis companies suffer significant financial losses due to these destructive fungi. One bad test sample may require entire batches to be discarded. Botrytis cinerea, or gray mold, manifests itself at first as a white growth, but over time darkens to smoky gray, softening the plant as cells are destroyed. While it may develop anywhere in the natural world, it is frequently introduced into the sterile environment of a growing room as the spores latch onto the clothes of workers, who then unknowingly bring it into the facility where unsuspecting plants fall victim to the hungry microbe. Overly humid air creates an environment perfectly suited for this mold to thrive. Proper disinfection methods upon entering the facility would help counteract this frequent scenario. Botrytis' evil twin, Podosphaera macularis, thrives in places of overcrowded, overwatered plants and high humidity, adversely affecting the healthy growth of cannabis crops in indoor facilities and greenhouses. Young leaves of cannabis plants showing a white or gray powdery fuzzy substance, small blisters on the top of leaves, and a rotting smell are all clear indications that white powdery mold is on the attack. Once it has infected a plant's leaves, it spreads easily to other areas of the plant. Infected buds become unusable. This relentless microorganism may attack at 3 different stages of cannabis cultivation: the vegetative stage, the flowering stage, and the drying/curing stage. During the drying phase, another group of molds, Aspergillus, Rhizopus, and Penicillium, take aim specifically at dead plants. While oven-dried plants suffer less mold than when air-dried, the latter is preferred by consumers and boasts no negative effects. Common treatments for infestations of mold at cannabis facilities. Within cultivation rooms and greenhouses, the best initial practice to thwart gray mold and powdery mildew is clean air circulation, which is a product of 4 essential practices: leaving adequate space between plants, defoliating, the removing of dead leaves, regulating humidity to keep the air from becoming too saturated, and using circulation methods to increase airflow and air exchange. Fungicides are often used in an attempt to prevent these microbial intruders from infecting cannabis crops. However, these stubborn molds have developed immunity to various chemical treatments. Besides, this form of treatment can leave hazardous residues in its wake and incur repeated costs. While the essential practices mentioned are a good start in the war against gray mold and powdery mildew, there is another strategy that every cannabis facility could benefit from. Germicidal ultraviolet air and surface disinfection provides chemical-free inactivation of these molds. Air and surface disinfection systems from Ultraviolet Corporation. As long ago as 1890, UVC treatment to render microorganisms inactive was discovered, tested, and ultimately accepted in the scientific community as viable. Throughout the 20th century, the process has been perfected. The disinfection method known as UVGI, ultraviolet germicidal irradiation, is used to control microbial pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, spores, fungi, and mold in air, on surfaces, and in water. Germicidal ultraviolet light, emitted at 254 nanometers over a certain amount of time and intensity, will attack and damage links in the DNA chain, rendering it unable to replicate and suspending its proliferation. At Ultraviolet Corporation, our UVC air and surface disinfection models can be used in several ways to combat microorganisms in cannabis growing and drying rooms. Air ducts, a known haven for mold, should be treated with UV disinfection. Our aerologic models easily install near the cooling coils where spores are most likely to develop, treating them with UV light and rendering them inoperative before they spread throughout the building. Increased airflow and air exchange should be combined with UV treatment to help protect cannabis from disease-causing mold. Our Sanitaire UVC room air sanitizers are designed to fill those needs. Workbenches, seedling trays, surfaces, and tools should be directly disinfected with UV rays in labs and in between drying patches. Our Sanadyne, Sanalite, Cinerea, and Sana UV Cube models will inactivate spores that may be transported and recirculated around the room by drying fans. Since these products have UVC lamps exposed, rooms cannot be occupied during these treatments, and plants should not be present. We know success in the cannabis industry involves the careful processes of growing and drying, but don't forget to create the optimal conditions for your plants to thrive. Cultivate your cannabis with UV purified water to decrease the likelihood of diseased plants. Sanitron and Mighty Pure will provide your farm with the water flow requirements you need. Call one of our UV specialists today to discuss your unique cannabis application. They will provide the most efficient and cost-effective products for your needs. Atlantic Ultraviolet Corporation. Contact us today